Hi, my name is Alan Rossiter. I'm a consultant with Milner Browne, and today what I'm going to go through is the follow on from our last presentation we made on B1 production, but today is going to be our Milner Browne SAP B1 production app. I'm going to give you an overview of exactly what it's entailed. And just first of all, what are the elements of the B1 production app and what does it do? We have four main elements to it. One is the process master data, which in effect is a bill of materials. Now, rather than duplicating information from a bill of materials, this is quite simple to run, which I'll show you there shortly. What happens is the bill of materials, once you create it or once you modify it, it gives you an option to create the process master data. So there's no great extra work other than the fact that either you select to create it or you cancel the update. The second one is process order. The process order, again, as I'll show you, will be, it's like an umbrella with all the production orders that you may have within one order. And when I say that, what I mean is, if you have a production order that has, or sorry, a bill of materials that has child items, what the process order does, it actually breaks them down per item and creates a production order per child item, so you have full traceability of exactly all the different elements that are required for your final process. The third element is the process management board. What this does is gives you an overview of exactly what's happening on your production workflow based on the different process orders. It gives you an idea of where all the different elements are, how your labour costs are going versus planned, how your materials are going versus planned. Again, I'll give you a demonstration of exactly how that runs. And the fourth thing is actually the production workflow console. This is this works alongside B1 production app, where the operators or your warehouses can actually add your materials or add your labour costs there and then, so you have a live overview of exactly what's happening at any one time. Again, I'll give you a demonstration of what that does. Okay, so what are the benefits of it? We already have production within SAP Business One and it works quite well. So why would you want to go to a B1 production app? Why would you want to go that extra bit? Well, Milner Browne has developed this over the last few years based on requirements of clients or customers or potential customers such as yourselves to see exactly what's needed, what's extra, what would be useful or handy to use. So first of all, like I've just mentioned, it has a consolidation of BOMs and child BOMs. If you recall the last demonstration we did for yourselves on B1 production, you will see we created a production order, but that doesn't differentiate what's a child BOM within that, whereas you may want to have a child BOM created, say, off-site, and you need full traceability of exactly what's happening with that bill of materials if it needs to be manufactured for, say, an overall item. What this does is it gives you an overview of exactly where it is, so you'll know within plenty of time that either a job is going on time or it's been delayed or it's gathering hours to the job which weren't necessarily planned for, so you can act fairly fast. The control of production resources through dependency control. What I will show you as well on the workflow console is where dependencies can be put in place so that you can choose, say for example, if you need to get something welded and then you need to get the welds cleaned. The guy that's actually doing the welding, the cleaning of the welding, will not be able to see that on his work list until the welder says this job is now complete. So you could set dependencies on that so that once one is complete, the second one is now available. That's your own call. You can make that choice, but the option is there. Provision of materials issue at time and place of use. This is ideal for the likes of MRP because what it does is once the material is actually used at the time it's being used, you can minimize your stock levels. So rather than anticipating at the start of the job I'm going to need all of these materials, that could take 2 or 3 months time and order it there and then. You can say what's been used at the time can be used as a backflush, so that triggers the reorder to replenish your stocks. Again, I'll give you a demonstration of what that does. Live reporting on materials issue, again, just to follow on with the previous point there, you can see exactly what materials have been used and when, plus when it comes to specific jobs, if you have a planned quantity of materials to be used, this will tell you whether you've gone over or under even on your materials required. So you can make calls for the future. If you need to look at this job in the future, if it's a bespoke job, you can say, right, here's the materials you used last time. Okay, retrospective compilation of a process order from a production order that was automatically created from a sales order. That sounds like a lot of information there, but effectively what will happen is when you create a sales order, You may already know that you have the function to create a procurement document on that. From now, in this example, it could be a production order. So if that was the case, why would you need a process order? Well, you can retrospectively come back with a production order and create a process order from that. And what that process order does, it breaks out the child bombs that you may have within that bomb into its own production orders itself. So it's not a case you need to line up everything to suit the B1 production app. You can actually work backwards from your current process. Okay, enablement of subcontract purchase orders to be created if required in a BOM once a purchase order is created. Yeah, B1 production now includes actually some contract element as well. So once you have a process order and it requires a subcontracting, say, of a third-party company to do some work for you, you could set the process order so it automatically creates a purchase order there and then for you. And again, I'll show you an example of how that runs. Intelligent material allocations. Use stock as possible, and production orders are created once existing child bombs have been allocated if selected. What that means effectively is if you're making an item and you have sub-assemblies that you keep in stock for maybe spare parts or for future use, it will use those elements first if you select to do so. So rather than you saying, I need to make a car and I need 4 wheels, but you've already 2 in stock, it will say, right, I'm going to make 2 because I already have 2. I know it's a very loose example, but that's the sort of element that it can use. So if you select to use stock, this is the sort of thing that can happen. You can use your stock on your shelf first and foremost. So it will reduce your stock levels if you decide to do that. Okay, who exactly is going to benefit from this? Why would you want to get a B1 production app? Who will benefit? Well, first of all, production manager, either production manager, supervisor, lead hand, or whatever. You monitor your production progress without walking the floor. Now, walking the floor is a key element of production management. We all know that. But if you had a focused area to work towards, this will give you that information. Again, production management live information enables quick reaction to problematic areas which may hold up production. You will see where labour is planned. If it's coming to a stage where labour is going beyond what is planned, then you can react fast. There's no point in saying once the job is finished to do an analysis on your labour and then find out in hindsight. You can react there and then in a live environment. From a sales perspective, monitoring of progress and time to notify customers of any delays to schedule. Similar to the previous point, if there is going to be a delay to your customer, at least you can notify them early so they can make adjustments, rather than leave it to the last minute saying this is not going out today, we'll go tomorrow, where people might have other subcontract dependencies waiting on that job. Sales and estimators. You can get proper recorded feedback for repeat tasks and allows for more accurate future quotations. What this means, again, I just mentioned earlier there, if you have a bespoke item but you need to do it again, or a variation of, at least you have a good feedback of exactly what the labour and material costs were. So you can estimate and give a proper sales quotation to the next customer that wants something similar, or maybe it's a repeat customer. The supply chain. The live material allocation permits live data to be captured for stock levels and efficiencies, which translate to faster reaction times. You can set up alerts based on the material allocation that's been used with the workflow console, so that you can be alerted to say when materials come below a minimum stock level or when you don't have enough to complete the current jobs in line. So the supply chain can benefit there as well. The planning as child bombs are given a separate production order, the manufacturing process allows for informative decisions on scheduling. So if you have a child bomb, obviously there may be a lead time on the child bomb, and the dependency is once that child bomb comes through, the parent bomb can be manufactured. That will give planning a bit of time to say, right, it's going to take X amount of time to run based on what the process order says. Based on the process order tells you, depending on the dependencies that you put in place. HR may benefit there too. So if desired, the hours recorded per task can be recorded for labour and payment comparison. I know companies and our clients of Milner Browne have used this in the past, where they have say a clocking system. They use the hours that are generated through the clocking system to compare what the hours were used on the different tasks on the work floor, just to compare to make sure that all hours per person have been recorded. And obviously worker operations is going to benefit here by a compilation of work available to the production operators is visible. So again, showing you the workflow console, you can see what work is actually available to the different elements. So you don't have a list of 20, 30, 40 tasks. You can see what tasks are available to you live if that's the way you want to use it. Okay, which companies benefit from B1 production apps? Well, any small or medium business can benefit from using this solution, which is what Milner Browne are about and SAP Business One is about. But especially those operating in industries that need an insight into their company-wide data in real time, but equally companies with single-piece flow production processes. So you can see live any size company where anything is at any one time. The solution encourages innovations and proactive measures that were previously the reserve of larger companies. So again, the fact that you can see things live, it gives you an incentive or an ability to move and make improvements there and then. Again, with the solution, Milner Browne is making the process of production easier, more visible and intuitive. Okay, what I'm going to do is give you a brief demonstration of exactly what's involved here. Here we have our production general settings. Now, like I said, the B1 production app has been developed based on clients' demands over the last few years. So you can see there's a lot of settings that can be changed there. I mean, you can change, okay, if some companies want to use mandatory batch use, you can turn it on, turn it off. You can allow a release of process step without owner, various different items that go down through the list there. You can allow subcontracting or you can disallow subcontracting, whichever suits your process. So you can see it's very, very versatile in what you can do with it based on the core B1 production within SAP Business One, which does allow you to assist. Other elements are here I've mentioned, which is use stock. You can use stock for sub-assemblies if you want to enable that. If you don't, fine, you don't need to. Rework is always an option if you want to use it. It is user configurable, so you want your, say for example, your painter. You can allow them to view bomb step, but you might necessarily want them to action it. You might necessarily want them to allow them to close a bomb step. That may be down to the supervisor on the department. Again, it's fully manageable, it's fully versatile in what you're allowed to do and where. You can auto batch number, and similarly you can auto serial number if that's what you desire, if that's what your company requires. Plus again, with the variability, you can allow all different more information be displayed on the row display, on the header display, and you can also exclude warehouses if you want to. So again, it's very, very versatile in what you need to do. Okay, here's an example of a process order. Now this process order itself has, as you can see here, it's created 2 production orders. Okay, the production orders are based on the wheelbarrow grey and the sub-assembly, which is the painting of the main bucket of the wheelbarrow. So again, it creates 2 different production orders, 2 separate production orders, one dependency on the other. Now you can see this example here doesn't show the full extent of what dependencies can be used for. I will show an example where that can be used fully. This is just an example to show what the process order is. You can also see there's an awful lot of information here, such as process time, additional time, actual time, quantity in stock, etc., etc. You can as with most documents within SAP Business One, you can modify this as you like, just by going to your form settings and see what's available there. So you can disable, you can turn them off, you can move them around, so you get the information that you need. Because it's such a versatile tool to be using, these options are there for you to choose whether you'd like to use them or not. Another element here as well is the purchase order. We have a subcontract line, which is here. We need to get a wheelbarrow. Now if you can imagine, a wheelbarrow has one piece of pipe which is used to form the handles and go around underneath the bucket part of the wheelbarrow. So we need to get that sent away somewhere else to be bent. We've created a purchase order here, and again, with the B1 production app, everything is fully drillable. So you can see I have that purchase order and see who's been created for when, what the due dates are. So again, this is the order here based on the process order number 11. Okay, I'm going to go through a bit more detail on the process master. Sorry, I just need to sign in here. Okay, here's your process. This is your process order. Your process master data is here. Okay, the process master data, this one has dependencies set up. Again, similar bill of materials. The wheelbarrow handle is set up as the sub-BOM, and there's the parent. The resources, where do the resources come from? Where do they go to? And here are the dependencies that are set up. So you could set, for example, well, it makes perfect sense. If you're going to run welds, the weld has to be created first. So this line here is dependent on this one being complete, which is the process of welding. I just clicked on the drill in there, sorry about that. So you can set all your dependencies so that when you come to the workflow console, that it'll only see once these steps are complete that these become available to view. Okay. So you have your process order, that's released to the floor. You will get a copy of a crystal report that you can send with the drawings you may have, with a quality sheet that you may have to send with the documentation. So you can see a full laydown of exactly what's required, what materials are required, and when. As part of that, you will have your process management board. Now this is your process management board. These are all collapsed at this stage. I'm just going to expand. So what you can see here, I have just one item here that I have on this test database to show you, which is basically a wheelbarrow grey. Very inventive, I'm sure. You can see different bills of materials and different processes, different resources that are involved in that. Now the early ones here are being closed, but you can see some of these are in process. So you can see the status of these lines. Again, by the way, there's a lot of information here. You can refine that as best you want. But you can see the stock, there is a stock shortage here based on the bill of materials. Of course there would be, because this is what we have to manufacture. Some status, it is open. Some the subcontract has been ordered, so you know it's all been ordered, so you don't have to worry about that. One line here, the laser operator has decided that, I just expand a bit further. There has been a part completion of the laser operator. So laser operator has actually done part of this work. So you know your job is at this area here. Some earlier examples would be, for example, here. Your acetylene. Now again, I'm jumping the gun on this one. I just put these in there for example, but you know, this status is now complete. So you know it's gone past this stage. You know this is the last stage of that process. So you know now it's gone to painting. So again, this gives you an overview of exactly what elements or where your production is at any one time. Other huge benefits of this one. I'm going to ungroup these to show you what's possible. If you have a lot of production orders going through of a similar item, say for example I'm just going to sort these to step item. So excuse me, obviously you're going to do these jobs as clean, and our assembly is going to be grouped there as well. You might necessarily want to assembly, record what you've done in assembly, go to the next assembly, record what you did. You may want to actually group these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this row down to this row. And what I'm going to do is actually going to batch them. What this does is it allows you to take on those, say in this example, 4 jobs, batch them together, give them a number, and what it will do is the hours that are recorded against the job, it will allocate those hours pro rata to those 4 different tasks. So again, just to batch those there, the planner is going to be myself at this stage. So I'm just going to add those 4 elements there, and hopefully this will go through. And you can see they're being batch controlled. What that effectively means is we can now have a batch process order. The person come along and say, right, I'm going to batch control number 4, and I'll show you that on the workflow console there shortly. And they can do all those jobs together. Once they allocate their hours for that batch number, again, it delivers them out pro rata on the different tasks. So I'm going to group those rules again. And you can see it goes back into the different process order numbers, which are down here on the left-hand side. As with most things, again, like I mentioned, it's very versatile. You can select the order only. We only have one in this area because it's just a demo of what I'm doing for yourselves. You can choose up your process steps. You can select which process steps you want to show. So again, it shows the information that you want to see. Now, the next element that I want to pull up here is the workflow console. This allows the people on the factory floor or people in the stores, your operators, your technicians, your engineers, whichever, to come along and say, what do I need to do next? Like I mentioned, a lot of information here. Just by right-clicking on form settings, you can decide exactly what you want to show in this one here. So I'm going to come along, for example, and I'm going to say, right, process types. I want to go through processes. So I want to work on a job. My process order number 11 here, which is well polishing. I want to polish those wells. So I got actions in that. And what this shows me is we have a planned production quantity here of 1. So I just do 1 polish. The planned labour quantity is going to take me 2 hours to polish that weld. Now there's 2 ways I can record this. First of all, I can say I'm going to start recording now, which will set up a clock and record the time that I started to the time that I finish. It's going to ask me how many did they produce. Now the target here is 1, so I can just enter in 1. And that time has been allocated to that. So I've taken about 2 seconds to do 1 job. Obviously that's purely fictitious. What you can do, what some companies do as well, is put in the 2 hours there as a quantity, put in your process tab, put in your quantity. Again, this prompt doesn't have to be in there. Some companies would like this to be there. You can decide. So again, the hours have gone in there. So now I have 2 hours plus the 2 seconds I've done earlier on. Other things here you can turn off, turn on. You can put in your marks, your quantities produced. I know some companies, depending on sort of background that you have, if you're working with the aeronautics industry, you might do the record where all your scrap is gone, so you know that no elements or no parts can go back into the production process. So you may decide to put in there that as being mandatory to fill in those. I'm going to complete that step. I've said I've finished this. Now I've made those polish. I've welded those polishes. I've polished those welds, and I'm going to complete that step. And that now has been done. That is now complete, and it disappears from the list of available jobs that I see. Okay, quite straightforward enough. You can actually do the same here with buildings and materials. Okay, I'm going to come through the last item here. I'm going to double click on that. Our action is the same effect. What I can come along is I can issue my materials here. So here's the pipe, for example. A planned quantity is 3. I'm going to issue 3 meters here. You can issue more, you can issue less. You can decide which warehouse you want to select it from. At this occasion, there's only 1 warehouse to pick it from. There may be more. So I'm going to issue quantity 3 meters to that job. I'm going to process step. Okay. Error number 1. Job that I'm trying to release 2 hasn't been released yet, so we need to come back to the process order. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go back. We'll try rather than going through releasing that. We'll try to get a different bill of materials. Number 8 should be okay here. Why are we getting this error? Oh, I have another window open, that's why, sorry. I'm just going to close that for a second. Okay. We go into this one, which we know has been released. So just going to action that here. Similar task. 3 meters here for this line, so I'm going to put in my 3. Going to select warehouse location number 1 and process start. And what's happened is you can see those 3 meters here have been allocated. Now, you may decide that you want those batch controlled. Obviously, that's possible too. In this occasion, this example, it isn't batch controlled. I might want to say, right, well, we only use 2 meters on that, so I'm going to return 1. And again, I choose which warehouse I want to return it to. Process step. Done. I can choose the bulk issue. So rather than go through line per line doing the issue, I can do the very same thing here. I can do the issue quantity as I go down, select each one, and you can see what's available in this one. And just issue. Now this one you see is batch controlled here, so I need to go through the batch to see where exactly that needs, where the batch numbers are, what's possible, and issue those. But that's effectively what you can do. So rather than going line per line, you can do a batch issue there as well. Okay, I'm going to select here batch process. And we mentioned this earlier on that we can process a batch together of similar items. So again, we look at the asset cleaner. I got a process batch, this example batch number 2. And I'm going to batch record resource time. So here I'm going to select which ones I'm going to be used against. I'm going to say requirement time. I'm going to put in minutes in this occasion. I'm going to put in, say, 30 minutes. Okay, and this one here, I'm going to put in 30 minutes. Even though there's more to do, I'm going to create the transaction. And that has allowed me then to issue the errors to those different jobs as a batch, as opposed to go down to each individual line, issue errors, each individual line, issue errors, and so on and so on. So that's effectively what's been used on the factory floor. And like I said, this gives you live information, as you can see here. So as soon as it's done, you just need to refresh. And what that does, it pulls in the live information as it happens. And there we have it. Okay, so that's effectively the B1 production, the B1 production app, which works again alongside SAP Business One. Really, the core element of this is the live information that's coming back, and that's the core element of what's there. The versatility is very, very useful to be able to change what you decide to see, what you decide to use it for. Again, but like the driving force is the fact that you can see exactly what's going on and where, plus it allows your employees to record at times so you don't have to go down the road of paperwork, send it to an administrator to record the materials, plus you don't have to wait for the job to finish to actually start recording what materials will be used. Plus, as we mentioned earlier on, it gives you live information. You can react there and then. Okay, if any follow-up questions, as usual, just email us at sales@iisgroup.eu or call us on those numbers, or again, speak to your account manager. I've been Alan Rossiter for Milner Browne, and thank you for your time.